The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned in to the PA Power Podcast, featuring Jeff Upson and Eric Knopsnyder. PA Power Wrestling. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
What's going on, wrestling fans? I'm Jeff Upson, and you are now tuned in to the PA Power Podcast. And Eric and I just got done with 3 long days at the Giants Center. And Eric, what a finale here at the end.
Oh yeah, great 3 days of wrestling, and as you said, the final match, AAA State Championship match, was just fantastic.
It came down to the last match, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But let's just recap the tournament, Eric. And I thought there were several teams that stuck out to me. Northern Lebanon being one of them, to come away from District 3 as the third place team and come all the way back to finish second in state. They had just a tremendous run from the preliminary round. And I could be wrong here, but I think they may have been the first team to come from the play-in matches all the way into the finals. I could be wrong, but if it's happened, it hasn't happened in a few years. Now,
wasn't Becca actually in the same boat?
Yeah, I'm saying in AA.
In AA, okay.
Right. A third place team to come all the way.
Yeah. And it was an amazing finish. You know, it kind of reminded me of the NCAA basketball tournament. You know, we talk about March Madness and the Cinderella teams, and that's not a slight on Northern Lebanon. I mean, they showed that they proved that they were good enough to be there by getting through with the way they did. But, you know, they just kept surprising us. You know, they go and they knock off Brookville in the first round 29-27. And you think, oh, well, that was a nice story, but now they've got Southern Columbia. And what do? They go and beat Southern Columbia 36-31. And then last night they beat Bishop McDevitt, the District 3 champ, and just a fantastic match.
Yeah, which came down to criteria 31-30. And I mean, yeah, I agree with you, Eric. It sort of reminds me of that Cinderella story, not to downplay Northern Lebanon, but just for them to come out and wrestle like they did. I was very impressed with Rusty Wallace Jr., head coach there, and the way he was able to manage the lineup. A very solid lineup throughout. Not too many holes, and they were able to get some quality wins where they needed to. But at the end of the day, they wrestled really tough, beating a really impressive Brookville team, Southern Columbia, who we're going to be seeing a lot of in the next couple years. But ultimately, they did finish as the runner-up.
Yeah, Reynolds just proved that they are head and shoulders above everyone else in AA. Just a machine-like effort out of Reynolds, going through there and beating Northern Lebanon 54-18 in the final, as well as Northern Lebanon was wrestling this weekend. I mean, Reynolds is just that good.
Reynolds is really that good, and I've been saying that for a while, and I thought this team was very special. And we were talking before the finals, and how does Reynolds stack up with some of these AAA teams? Well, they beat the fourth place team, Cathedral Prep. They beat them by 1 point, and I think they hang with Kiski. But Reynolds is a very impressive team all around, regardless of class. And their big guys came out and wrestled tough. Cole Ricker came out, got a tech fall at heavyweight. Bo Bayless got a fall, and then Adam Wilcox comes back and he bumps up to 13, where he's wrestling Kyler Ansbach, and he gets a fall over him. So that was a huge swing right there for those two to come out at 106 and 113 and get essentially 12 points back to back.
It was, and then as you said, you know, their big name guys just kept it going, and they just kept getting so many falls there. Just great job by Reynolds. They'd get a guy on his back and make sure they finished him off.
Now, Northern Lebanon's matches that they won, they were able to get some pins. The match started with Luke Funk, number 2 in the state. He came out with a fall in 4 minutes and 34 seconds over Bryce McCloskey. And a match that I was looking forward to was Trevor Leonard versus Hunter Michaels at 132 pounds. And I looked over, and Michaels was on his back. And
that one was a shocker to me as well.
Michaels got pinned in a minute and 14 by Trevor Leonard, who's very, very tough in his own right. So, that's a big win for him. He's had a solid weekend throughout. And Cole Matthews obviously does what he does. He gets a fall in a minute and 7 over Zach Kelly. And it was sort of all Reynolds after that.
Yeah, just a fantastic effort worthy state champions from Reynolds, great team performance. And as you said, probably a team that could have done well in the AAA tournament as well.
I think they could have competed tough with those guys. So it's no real surprise that the Reynolds Raiders came away with that big win over Northern Lebanon Finals. They are just really a step above the rest of the competition this year. I've been impressed with them all year. We saw them at the Ultimate Duels, and they looked great. They looked solid, and they have even more flexibility now that some of the guys descended down. They have Cole Rickert back in the lineup. He was out for most of the season. So, I mean, really everything fell into place nicely for Reynolds, who, they returned back to the top of the podium where they've been before, but they finished third twice in the last 4 years. So, I mean, they've had that taste of defeat, and I'm sure it felt good for these guys to come out and get that win.
Well, there's such a great tradition there at Reynolds. I mean, they're just always, you can pencil them in for one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the state, even in what's maybe a down year for them. And then whenever they get, a really good class or two coming together like they have right now, they're going to be right up there for the state championship.
In the third place match, Eric, we obviously weren't able to see a lot of that, but Southern Columbia came away with a 33-29 victory over the returning state champs, Brookville area, to place third. And I really like this Southern Columbia team, and I think they're a young team, and we're going to be seeing a lot of them soon.
Absolutely. I watched them against Chestnut Ridge earlier in the day, and just so impressive, nicely balanced lineup in terms of quality. But you're right, so young. I went down through the roster, and they're not all starters, but there were 9 freshmen on this team. And a lot of them are starters, and not only that, impact guys. So you're going to be seeing a lot, as you said, of Southern Columbia in the next couple of years. Future looks very bright there for the Tigers.
Yeah, leading that way is Gage Garcia from Southern Columbia, an all-star running back in football, and he broke his ankle and then came back a few weeks ago, and he's just been unbelievable in his return as a freshman, wrestling most of the weekend up at 182. He was able to get a nice win in the third place match against Noah Selesky from Brookville. He got an 8-2 win over him. And another guy that impressed me from Southern Columbia was Shane Casey at 120. He got a 1-0 win over Keelan Kunzelman, that's a good win for Casey.
Yeah, Casey, very good win there, as you said. And going back to Gage Garcia for a minute, what really impressed me about him is, as you said, he hasn't been back long, and you wondered how the stamina is going to be. What's the gas tank going to be like? And he was able to come in here and wrestle multiple matches in a day, wrestling good competition, and still look really good. So I think that's a great sign for the postseason for young Gage Garcia.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing how he does in the postseason for them, and he's going to be a fun guy to watch for the next 4 years here.
Absolutely, comes from good lineage. His dad Mike was a 3-time state champ, and Gage has the markings of a guy who's going to be on the podium multiple times in Hershey as well.
Well, before we talk about the big one with Becca and Nazareth, we'll look at the third place finishers, and that's Kiski area, who I've been high on all year. They suffered their first loss of the season in the quarterfinals when they dropped to Becca, but they came back in a big way, coming strong to finish third, and they beat Cathedral Prep in the third place bout 41-21 to grab that third place championship. A really respectful showing by the Kiski Cavaliers.
Yeah, it was. As you said, we kind of thought all along that 1 and 2 in some order was going to be Nazareth and Bethlehem Catholic. But I know you felt that Kiski was right up there with them. Weren't quite able to get into that final round, but an impressive showing nonetheless, beating a good Cathedral Prep team there in the third place match.
And talk about another team that's on the rise and who's going to be around for a while, that like Southern Columbia. That's Cathedral Prep. They've got a ton of freshmen and sophomores. They've got a lot of junior high guys who are coming through the program. And Cathedral Prep, they've had a great year in 2017, and I definitely foresee them being a force to reckon with in the next couple years. And really, it all starts with their sophomores returning state medalist Kara Saraki and Quan DeBow at heavyweight, and both of them came up with big wins for Cathedral Prep throughout the weekend. So I was impressed with the way they battled. They had a really tough match with North Allegheny in the consolation semifinals. That came down to a very, very close bout.
And it's good to see with Cathedral Prep just to balance out geographically a little bit. For the past couple of years, it's been so much District 7, District 11. Before that, District 3. It's good to see somebody up there in Erie doing well and having a good showing here at the state tournament.
Yeah, I agree, Eric. And really, the highlight of the day for me was this finals bout between Becca and Nazareth. What a heavyweight title championship bout this was, and my gosh, it had everything in place to be just a blockbuster match, and it certainly didn't disappoint.
No, and you worry about that sometimes. You get so much hype. You've had the back and forth between Becca and Nazareth, and you just hope that, guys don't get out there and kind of lay an egg and go one way or the other. And we certainly did not get that today. This was, great matches, back and forth. One team I thought was going to win it, then another one, and just a fantastic state championship caliber match.
Oh, and it was just entertaining. And I thought both teams, before we get into analyzing them, breaking down the match, I thought at the end both teams showed a lot of respect for each other. Even after they shook hands once, Becca wrestlers came over and again congratulated the Nazareth guys and the coaches, and they were sincere. It was definitely a sight to see. Two teams that battled so tough, and just left it all on the mat. I mean, this is the third time in just a few short weeks that they actually competed against each other. So they're obviously very, very against each other in that sense, but at the same time, there was a lot of respect shown between these two programs, and I think that all starts with the head coaches.
Yeah, you're right. That was great sportsmanship by Becca doing that, because it was heated during the match. I mean, I was sitting on the floor and you could hear, the Becca fans and even some of the wrestlers yelling some stuff. And then behind me, I'd hear the Nazareth fans and the wrestlers, and they're going back and forth a little bit. But, I don't think anything really crossed the line. It was, heat of the moment type of stuff in battle there. And when it was all over and said and done, you're right. They shook hands and said, "Hey, great job, great for District 11, great champion in Nazareth, and what a match that we'll have to remember for years to come."
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, just the entertainment level of that match, and I think both sides knew, hey, we left it all on the mat here. I mean, that came down to a tied match, and it couldn't have got any closer than what it was. And both sides showed a lot of sportsmanship. And because, like you said, it was a roller coaster ride of a match. It was up and down. At one point, I thought, wow, this looks good for Nazareth. But then Becca turns it on, and all of a sudden you're thinking, whoa, can Nazareth chip away at this? And, it was a very entertaining match, to say the least.
Yeah, you want to go through it bout by bout, Jeff, and we'll kind of break down what happened?
Yeah, well, Nazareth actually started out winning the toss, so that was big for them, because I thought Becca had a good starting position at 182. They sent out Labriola first, and Cade Wilson countered that from the Nazareth side. Now, here's a guy, Cade Wilson, that is likely going to descent down to 60. So he's not a huge 70-pound wrestler, and he's been wrestling up to 82 quite often. But he comes out and, the first match you say, okay, Labriola is going to come out and do what he does. He's a state champion. He's an undefeated wrestler, is ranked as high as 1 in the nation. And he comes out and he tech falls Cade, but he saves that bonus by not giving up the fall. And, at the time you're thinking, well, what does it really matter? Well, it does, because we're talking about 1 point, what could have been a difference.
It is, and in dual meets especially, I think there is momentum in wrestling. You get in a dual meet, and Becca was, they were happy with that. They got some momentum out of that. They said, Nazareth, they got some momentum out of that by saving the point there. That, okay, we lost the match, but it could have been worse. We could have lost 6. So, that's not a bad thing for Nazareth there.
No, and I think they were happy. I think, when Cade walked off the mat, everyone said, good job not giving up the fall to a very, very tough Labriola. So that was a win for them in that sense. So at 182, I would give the nod in the favor for Nazareth, but then Becca comes back and counters that with Andrew Balakis from Becca, who came out with a 10-6 decision over Tucker Klump in a swing match, in my opinion.
It was a swing match, but Balakis there for a little bit. I thought he might actually be coming up with a major too. But Tucker Klump was able to keep battling in the third period there and score himself instead of giving up any more points and put himself in a bonus situation.
Now that was a 6-point swing for Becca, because Tucker Klump, last time they wrestled in the District 11 finals, Tucker Klump came away with an 8-5 victory. So you're talking about a nice swing bout for Becca, having Andrew Balakis reversing that decision, losing 8-5 a week before, and then coming away with that 10-6 victory. So Becca was feeling good after 195, and I'd give them the nod there for just a great finish for Andrew to come away with that decision at 95 in a critical bout.
Yeah, but then you've got Nazareth feeling good because they've got Travis Stefanik coming up at 220, and you're looking for him to go out there and get big bonus points. And he faces Jody Kraus and is able to come up with a 9-1 major, but I'm sure Nazareth was hoping maybe they could get a little bit more out of him there.
Yeah, Stefanik's, one of the top wrestlers in the state by far, and just a good athlete. And he beat Jody Kraus 8-0 last time they wrestled when they were wrestling at 95. And this time, you could tell that he was getting a little frustrated trying to get to his shots. But Jody did what he had to do to sort of not give up those major, those big moves. And I would say it was a good thing for Becca to hold Stefanik to a 9-1 decision. Yes, it was still a major, so it was, it obviously played out in the end to be a big factor. But I thought Stefanik came out and wrestled tough, but Jody did well of only giving up the major.
Yeah, and that's what, in the dual meets, it makes for strange wrestling at times because, normally you're a wrestler, you want to go out there, you want to do your best to win. But sometimes in these dual meet situations, you got to say, hey, I got to put the team first and I got to make sure that I limit the damage. I'm probably not going to be able to beat him, but if I can avoid staying off my back, don't get pinned and keep it as close as I can, then I'm going to help my team out.
Right, and that's the interesting part in the dynamics of these dual meets. And we're going to talk with Dave Crowell in a second here, head coach of Nazareth Area. We were able to interview him after the finals bout, and he's going to touch on that because it's exactly the strategy going into it is it's a different dynamic when you're talking about these team duels, and every point matters. Moving up to 285 at heavyweight, Nico Camacho, no surprise there, comes away with a fall in 51 seconds. He was able to get the fall for the third time against Mohamed Tankara, so there was no surprise there that he was going to come away with that fall to get 6 points to Becca.
No, he came out, got it done quickly, got the momentum back on the side of Becca High, and they're looking good there after 4 matches. Yeah,
after 4 matches, I'm thinking, hey, they're in the driver's seat now. They're in the driver's seat to, how they're going to finish this out. But Andrew Cerniglia comes up for Nazareth now. He teched Dylan Murphy the last time that they wrestled. This time, Dylan Murphy held him to a 7-0 decision. I mean, that's huge. When you're talking about you gave up 5 last week and now you're only giving up 3. I thought there was, and Cerniglia, no fault to him. He was trying very hard, and Murphy on his own was trying very hard not to give up the points, and he did his job, and you could tell after the match, even though he lost, he sort of gave a fist pump to the sidelines, like, hey, I saved ourselves two team points.
Yeah, and as we've said, a couple times already, in a setting like this where that every point is going to be big, going from a tech fall to a regular decision is huge.
It certainly was. And after this match, I sort of turned to my left and I thought, man, if Sean Pearson does not get a victory at 113, I don't think Nazareth's going to win this match. So that's only after 5 bouts. I thought already you could tell if Sean Pearson does not beat Kenny Herman, I don't see Nazareth coming out on top. But Sean Pearson does it. He gets the job done in overtime and ride out. He just continues to get the job done. I mean, Sean Pearson's a guy who's been in and out of the lineup this year, and he's down to 113. Last year he was at 106 and then got bumped out because he had a state champion Tyson Klump in his way. But he comes out and gets a huge win for Nazareth, defeating Kenny Herman for the second time in a row. This time it was 5-3 in rideout.
This was a fun one too because it was going back and forth. I think at the end of regulation, it looked like Herman was getting close to a takedown. Wasn't there, good call by the refs. He didn't have it, but it was exciting end of that. And then at the end of the sudden victory overtime period, I think Pearson was in. I know it went back and forth one way or the other, and that each of them was close to a takedown at the end of a period. Didn't get it, and then we go to the tie break, and yeah, Pearson comes out on top there.
Yeah, he gets the reversal, and Herman's so good with the elbow pass. He's just so tough with the elbow pass. And Pearson got taken down first. He got taken down in the first period within the first 30 seconds, I believe. And for him to battle back and then get that reversal, he shook him off, got the reversal on Herman, and then Herman actually on the second tiebreaker he took neutral to try to get the takedown on Pearson. But Pearson comes up huge again. Last week, he came away with a 1-0 victory over Herman, so he follows it up again and gets 3 points to steer that ship back sort of in Nazareth's direction. But still, after 113, I'm thinking they have a lot of making up to do, and I'm not sure if they're able to do it.
Yeah, and they came up at 120. You're right. They were really in need of something big, and they got it from Ryan O'Grady.
My gosh, talk about a swing bout here. Ryan O'Grady turns around for the first time in a long time. He comes out with a marquee win, beating Zach Glenn. Not only beating him, he gets the major decision over Zach Glenn, 8-0 at 120 pounds. And that's a 7-point swing because last week Zach Glenn beat him 4-1. So you're talking about not only reversing that result, but getting a major decision en route to that. Ryan O'Grady showed up big time, and I think that's the key. I think that was the turning point of the match for me.
Well, and the funny part about it to me was not only it was like he flipped a switch because I believe it was scoreless in the first period and he was getting ridden out for most of the second period. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be 0-0 going into the third period. And in I think the final 30 or 40 seconds, he gets a reversal and 3 back points and makes it 5-0 going into the third period. And then just dominates the third period, gets a couple of stall calls and makes it 8-0.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, he really did his damage in 2.5 minutes.
He really did, and he was just a punisher on top. I mean, you're talking about going against Zach Glenn, who was a returning state medalist, very, very tough, and he was able to get the reversal, turn him, and then ride him out, and then along the way get the stall call. It was 7-0. He gets the point for stalling and makes it a major. I mean, that was just a critical bout, and the Nazareth bench was very, very alive after that match because they knew the significance of Ryan O'Grady coming out and getting that win.
Well, and that just, aside from the point difference, which is huge, as we talked about, mentally, seeing one of your teammates go out there and completely reverse a result like that and change the fortunes from a previous match, I mean, that just gives you such a mental boost and gets everybody on the bench going and lifts everybody's spirits there. Yeah,
I agree with you, Eric. And no surprise to me at 126-pound, Ryan Anderson comes out against Trevor Tarsi. Again, he was able to get a decision. Last time that they wrestled, it was 3-2. This time it was 3-0 for Anderson. And he's just tough. I mean, he's all out. He goes at you hard, leads with his head. And, he comes away. And I know he wanted more, but he was able to get the 3-0 decision to get the favor back in Becca's, in their favor.
Yeah, and then I thought, okay, we're really in a battle here. And then the next two just kind of caught me off guard. I mean, as quickly as things went there.
It was incredible because it was almost like at this point it was looking good for Nazareth because it was playing out a little bit like it did last time. You're only given a decision to Ryan Anderson. You already flipped the script on Zach Glenn. Sean Pearson was able to get his decision. But then all of a sudden, Jared Papsey comes out at 132 pounds, and in a minute 27, he pins Ian Pooley. And my gosh, the Becca bench went nuts.
Yeah, it just exploded. You talk about that, how the momentum swings and all that stuff. And this was a big one. And it just happened so quickly at 138 as well.
In 12 seconds, Luke Carty. So Luke Carty did not wrestle in the first two matches. In fact, he had been out since December, and he gets back in the lineup now for the postseason, the state tournament. And so after Jared Papsey comes away with a fall, he got 6 points for Nazareth. Last week, Jared Papsey only got 3 points. And when he was up at 138, he got a 4-0 decision for 3 points for Becca. So this time he gets 3 extra, gets his fall, and Luke Carty comes out at 138 pounds, and in 12 seconds just takes the life out of Nazareth. I mean, I thought after 138 pounds it was all over.
I did too. I thought, okay, Becca's going to be your champ. Nice effort by Nazareth. Got a win over them earlier, but this is going to be the end of it. This is Becca's time. After that, the huge momentum swing there. I mean,
talking about just because Ian Pooley last week at 132 pounds, he came away with a huge fall at 132 pounds over Christian Ledecky, and this time he gets decked by Papsey, and then Luke Carty comes out and gets a 12-second fall, and I mean, you're looking like, man, this is it. This is Becca's match to lose, and I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think Nazareth was able to chip away from it.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was sitting, as I said, on the Nazareth side of the mat, and I heard one of the assistant coaches going behind the guys as the 145 match was going on. And he said, "Hey, look, guys, we get bonus. We're going to win this. We can still do this." And I thought, well, that's a coach trying to coax his guys up, but you're facing pretty long odds here with 4 matches to go.
Yeah, and I heard that as well, and I thought, man, they're going to need more than bonus. They're going to need some huge wins. So at 145 pounds, Coach Kroll sends out Nathan Stefanik, who's the younger brother. He's a freshman, a younger brother, Travis. He's been in the lineup all season, battled, took his bumps and bruises along the way, and he comes out. Now, last week, he wrestles Luca Frenzy from Becca, loses 3-1 in sudden victory. So you know that if he gives up this match to Luca, he's done. The Nazareth team is not going to be able to come away with a victory. But he comes out at 145, and I thought he wrestled a great match, a smart match. He was in great position on his feet. He came out with a 4-2 decision to keep Nazareth's hopes alive. For a freshman to come out after watching 2 of your teammates get pinned, both in the first period, 1 in 12 seconds, and it's on your shoulders as a freshman to come out and quiet that and get the momentum back, that's a daunting task.
Yeah, what composure. I mean, it's tough to ask a senior in that atmosphere. The state finals, you've got, loud cheering sections on both sides, all the momentum on the other side. Just great job by him to go out there and keep his composure. And as you said, not try to do too much in this situation. Stay within yourself. As you said, great positioning. Don't put yourself in trouble and be there to win it.
Yeah, he wrestled a really smart match. He wrestled a smart match for a freshman to come away and reverse that decision, much like we've seen throughout this match, losing 3-1 in sudden victory the week prior, coming away when it counted, because if he doesn't win that, Nazareth's not the champion. So after 145, you got your stud Sammy Sasso coming out, and you know what Sammy was looking for.
Oh yeah, and he's looking for a fall, and obviously Garrett Gibson on the other side knows what he's looking for and just trying to prevent that.
Yeah, last week Sammy wrestled at 152 pounds the last week when they wrestled, and he was able to get a fall in 2 minutes and 50 seconds over Joe Kurtz from Becca. But this time Garrett Gibson goes out, and he does his job, in my opinion. He holds Sammy to a tech fall, 21-5. And Sammy, I give him credit because he looked sharp, and he was going. It wasn't lack of effort. He was going for that fall and working hard for it. But and that takes a lot out of you, trying to just crank a guy over the entire time. But he comes out and gets the job done. He gets the 5 points to keep the hopes still alive.
But yeah, you could tell that he was upset coming off the mat that he didn't get the 6. I mean, he worked so hard for it. But as we said, in a team situation when a guy's just trying not to get pinned, it's pretty tough to get that fall.
Well, and it didn't. It just got so much better for Nazareth when they moved up to 160 pounds, and really just I thought the key match here to set it up for the final bout was Brock Wilson, and last week he beat Ryan Zener from Becca. He beat him 6-0, so he's 2 points shy of that major decision. It ended up not needing it back then, but this time. Obviously, hey, I got to get the bonus points. I've got to keep us in this fight. And Brock comes out and beats him 8-0. And really, I thought that was a match that Ryan was close to being DQ'd for stalling. He had the stalling. He was one stall call away from being DQ'd.
That's probably the only negative I would say about this dual meet is as great as the dual meet was. The one negative I would say is that there was a lot of stalling going on and just trying to prevent bonus. And while it's smart strategy, it isn't always the most appealing to watch.
No, and both sides know what they're doing. Both sides know that they're stalling. They're hanging on to elbows. They're hanging on the wrists. But I thought, he was in trouble there. I thought for sure if he would have kept his head down on the mat, he was. I mean, I don't think a ref's going to make that call in the state finals with one match left in the duel to DQ the guy. But I give Brock all the credit in the world because he came out and just chipped away. He opened him up, and he takes a 3-point decision last time to come out with a major to get a big 4 points for Nazareth to set them up in a position where, hey, if they get the win at 170, they were going to come away with the championship.
Right, and they all knew it. They knew, hey, we've got the edge in matches. If we win this one, we've got the state title.
And what a match it was at 170 pounds. And Zach Kiefer from Nazareth, my gosh. Last week, he came away with a very critical win at 182 pounds, beating Luke Morrow. He beat him 5-3. And this week, he comes around and just gets the job done. Not the most technical wrestler in the world. He just grinded out this win over freshman Tavion Banks from Becca, beats him 2-1 to clinch just a wonderful. I mean, I can't believe. I'm still sort of in shock that they were able to come back and get that victory.
Yeah, it was, and it was interesting. He actually won it on a technical violation. He got a fleeing the mat call, which you don't see very often, but he was in deep. Banks was trying to avoid it, and probably the right call. He's hopping for the out-of-bounds line, gets the technical violation there, and that's how he won it.
Yeah,
because they traded escape, so you add that in, and that was the deciding factor.
I would say I saw more fleeing the mat calls here at Hershey than we did anywhere else during the season. I thought the refs were called it appropriately, and in that match, Zach was in on deep on that, and if Banks did not hop out, I think he would have been taken down. So in his mind, he's thinking, hey, either he calls it or he doesn't, and he ended up calling it, which ended up being the match.
It is, and that's always a tough thing for an official to make because, I mean, when a guy has your leg, the natural thing to do is to try to pull out and get away. And if you go out of bounds, is that because you were fleeing the mat, or is that because that's just the natural course of action to try to take to get away? So it's always a judgment call there and not an easy one to make.
Yeah, and I mean, in that situation, I think that's a judgment call that ref has to make is, was he just trying to to turn and face him, and it just so happened they're on the edge of the match? Or are you making an attempt to get out of bounds in order to stop the action? So, at the end of the day, I still think even if you don't give that call to him, I still think Zach was able to would have came away with a victory. He was just poised, I think, in that position. He looked like he was in control. He looked like he knew what he had to do, and he got the job done. So I thought he was cool and collective for a guy who had the weight of the season on his shoulders.
Yeah, and great job by him. Great job by Nazareth. Like I said, I counted them out. Certainly after the 2 quick falls, I thought it was Becca's title. But boy, they just stormed back there in those final 4 matches.
That was huge. I mean, it was a great match. Both sides just battled so tough. We knew at the start of the season that these two were going to be the top 2 teams in the state. They proved it here in Hershey, why they are both considered 2 of the top teams, not only in the state but the nation. And my hats are off to both programs on putting on a great show. And for wrestling fans, it was a great experience to see these 2 teams come out and lay it all out on the mat.
It was, and we'll post some highlights from the match. We recorded some video, going to get some stuff up on the website so that you can check it out and see it if you didn't get to watch it on TV. We'll have that and interviews and just fan reaction and just some good stuff there. Great scene in Hershey, and now how do you top that with the individuals, Jeff?
I mean, it's a different season. The dual season, I mean, you have guys that are never going to wrestle in the state tournament again. You have guys that was the last time they're going to be wrestling in the Giant Center. So, while it's such an impressive performance because you're talking about a team aspect. And when we talk to Coach Crowell here in a minute, he talks about that, how he's so team focused. Every guy plays a critical role. He said he brought 18, and I think he wrestled 16 of them. So everyone played their part. Everyone had a role, and it's a great end to the dual season. But now it's about the individuals, and now it's that individual effort and all the work pays off. And it's just fortunate that these guys were able to come out here and compete under the big stage at the Giant Center. So it's a hard ending to top, but if there's anyone that's going to do it, it's the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, individuals, as you said, it was a great atmosphere, and you had a decent amount of fans there between Nazareth and Bethlehem Catholic. But boy, there's nothing like that state finals when you get the Giant Center with thousands of people in there and everybody's just ready to go.
Yeah, I agree, Eric, and it's quite an experience for these wrestlers and for these teams. So again, just hats off to both Jeff Karam and Dave Crowell on just a phenomenal performance in the finals there. We're going to chat with Coach Crowell here in a second after the finals, just to pick his brain on what was going through his mind and his team atmosphere and his team dynamics.
I knew it was kind of really stretching it to beat him one time, but I knew trying to get him a second time would be harder. So, to try to beat a really, really, really good team twice, you can kind of luck out once, but to beat him twice, I just didn't think we could do it.
Dave, this was such a roller coaster match. The way that started out with Labriola and Camacho up top, the way it went throughout the whole match was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was, and there was kind of some flip-flop things that happened. Like match we won at 220, we lost this time, and like that. But then, gosh, Pearson comes down, but then he comes back to win in overtime, and then O'Grady, he's been beaten by him every time, comes back and gets a major. That was major. So there's the point right there. There was a difference.
Thoughts when it came down to the last bout, too?
Well, Zach Kiefer has won for our team so many times, it's almost like you're thinking, I don't care who he's against, I think he might be able to pull this off. And sure enough, he does it. He is one great competitor.
What does it mean for this team, the school? It's always been proud wrestling tradition to obtain this today.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. Probably, we all like to win the individual, but the team states is really the best indicator, I think, of what your team is, and I'm a huge team guy. Team is very, very important, and kind of losing that in today's culture, like the whole team concept I think is very, very important, and our team is really a team in the true sense of the word.
And Sammy and Brock really turned it on when they had to too today.
They do, but they're great team guys too. That's the thing. Like Sammy come off, he was up, he's like kind of upset. He said, "I tried my best," and I knew he did, and everything it's always team first, and I really, really respect these guys tremendously for their attitude and their approach to sports.
How special is this one 10 years from 2007? A little bit different team.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of an interesting, mix of guys. And 10 years ago, it was more of we had kind of had a lot of hammers, all the way up and down. And this is different, you have guys in and out. We brought 18 guys, and I think we used 16 of them, and which is really good. And, it's a great team. I mean, it was a great team. 10 years ago was a great team.
Dynamic.
But this was they pull for each other, and it's really good.
What did you say before the match with Zach? Because you were big on him at the beginning of the year. You said you were big on him.
He comes through. I didn't say anything to him. He said, "Zach, go ahead, go give him your best." Yeah. And I didn't think. I thought the other guy's like talented, and a
little bit more technical.
Yeah, and I didn't, think it was looking that good. But, that's one guy you can never count out,
How about a freshman, Nathan Stefanik? He comes through.
Yeah.
Big. I mean, because you get those two big falls at 32, 38. You put a freshman in at 45, and he's able to get a key win there.
I know. He lost before. Same guy.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure on a freshman.
Yeah, it is. And O'Grady, that was
that's a
huge.
7-point swing.
Yeah.
That's a 7-point swing.
And that's at that majors. That's the 1 point.
Right. So
that's why you never can. You got to get every point you can, because you just don't know how it's gonna. You never say, this one doesn't matter. It all matters. So probably, wrestling kind of, they think of it as like an individual sport. I think it might be almost the best team sport there is, because every single guy contributes to the score one way or another.
Right.
So it's good.
Coming into this weekend, like you said earlier, beating Becca once was tough enough. I mean, this was a daunting task for you guys to come in, and they had Cardi back. So
yeah.
They had
My gosh, yeah. They got kind of some better matchups down below, a little bit. And
does that make it a little bit more special, just the fact?
Everything was kind of against us in a way, like I would have rather been. That's what I said from the get-go, okay? Everybody said, "Can you beat him?" I said, "Well, I don't know. But if it's going to happen, I would like to have lose, and then win the final win, because I thought that would be our best chance if we're going to lose. If we're going to win one, to win the second one, I just thought, I'd rather be in their shoes right now in a way.
To have to come back and wrestle hard.
Yeah.
I mean, your guys came out and they got it done.
Yeah.
Freshmen all the way to seniors.
I know.
It's a special team, Coach.
Oh, it is. They're awesome. They really are awesome kids. It's one of my all-time.
Eric, I don't know about you, but I am beat. I'm tired. That was a long 3 days of just covering the best wrestling in the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm ready for a little bit of a break.
It was a long 3 days, but it was a fun 3 days. Great action. And, we'll rest up a little bit and get ready for the individual postseason, which will be starting here before you know it.
Yeah, rejuvenated, recharged. That's the way. That's what I think I'm going to do the next couple of days here. A lot of changes in the rankings. I love coming to the state tournament, the team tournament, for that reason, specifically because so many teams that don't see each other during the year, they do now, and it really helps shape the rankings for the individual part. So really looking forward to sitting down and dissecting all these results and getting the top and the best rankings out there for the fans. But overall, a great weekend. I appreciate Dave Crowell talking with us after the finals, and just congratulations to all the wrestlers and all the teams that were made the trip to Hershey and competed in the 2017 PIAA State Championship.
Yeah, great atmosphere, great wrestling, and just an awesome all-around event.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and check out PAPowerWrestling.com for all your updates, news, rankings, everything Pennsylvania wrestling is. We have it. We appreciate you stopping in. See you soon.